Thanks for watching. This is about factoring. This is part one of a three-part series. Here in part one, we're going to talk about the greatest common factor, which is something that we'll see. Be sure that you complete the practice work between each of the videos. It really helps you out. And please feel free to pause if something is going too fast. So there's many types of factoring that exist, but two are really the most useful that we're going to use in math in high school. The greatest common factor is one of those, and it looks like 3x squared plus 6x. The reason it's the greatest common factor is because 3 and 6 have a common factor of 3, and x is also a part of that. We're going to explore this problem in just a moment. And then there's another type, it's called factoring trinomial, because there's 3 parts. Quadratic, because it has a power of 2 expressions. So if we're factoring things, these don't have something in common. Like there's not an x in all 3 of them. There's not a common number between them all. So it's going to take a little bit more work to get through. Factoring is like division. Both are really just reverse multiplication, and I'll show you a little bit more about what I mean by that in just a moment. So it's like reverse multiplication because this is called something called factored form. So we're actually going to go from factored form to the form that you're going to start with. So just a reminder of what multiplication looks like. We're going to think about 2x times x plus 1. Now we're thinking about, okay, the length of this side is 2x long, the length of this side is x long, and the length of this is 1 long. So we're looking for the areas. So we're really going to multiply this side by this side to find the area. So that's 2x times x, which is 2x squared. And 2x times 1 is going to be 2x. So when I look at this in standard form, it's going to be, my answer to this problem is 2x squared plus, because it's a positive, 2x. Now this form down here is called standard form, and this form up here is called factored form. And the difference is one has parts where essentially I'm distributing. And to get down here, all I'm doing is distribution or multiplication. Distribution and multiplication are the same thing. Well, I want you to see, today we're going to learn a little bit about how to go from standard form to factored form, which is the reverse of multiplication, which is why we call it like division. Factoring is just reverse multiplication. So here's an example that you're probably going to see. We're looking at this, and this is currently in standard form. I know that because there's no multiplication that's happening. And what we're going to start thinking about is we're going to think about, oh, this is the inside of a box. We know that two numbers multiplied together, two things multiplied together, give us 6x and 36. Well, what's a common factor? What's common among 6x and 36? Well, 6 is divisible by 6, and 36 is divisible by 6, so 6 is common among those two things. So we're going to factor out a 6. Now, using a multiplication chart is really helpful here because you'll need to know off the top of your head, what are these both divisible? What's a common factor here? Well, 6x is made up of 6 times something. Well, that something has to be x, because 6 times x is 6x. And this something here has to be 6, because 6 times 6 is 36. So we have the standard form, which is the long form, and we've got factored form, which is going to be 6 multiplied by x plus 6. Now, it's really important that you see here that both of them are essentially the same. All I have to do to go from factored form, and I'll write that it's factored form, from factored form to standard form is I just will distribute, and this is kind of our work in between. But I hope that you see that it's reverse multiplication, that we had something that was multiplied and we unmultiplied it. I'll do another example for us. So we can also factor out variables. I hope that you can see that this has an x and this has an x, and 3 is divisible by 3, and 6 can be divided by 3 really well. So we're going to think about it kind of the same way as we did before. We have our standard form up above. This stuff on the inside is going to be the stuff that I'm factoring. And what comes out? I'm thinking, okay, what's going to come out? Well, we know 3 comes out because 3 was a common factor to both of them, and x is also a common factor between them. Okay, I hope that you take a moment and really appreciate that 3x x squared can be divided by 3x, and 6x squared, or 6x can be divided by 3x. Well, something times 3x is going to give us 6x. That has to be 2, because 2 times 3x is going to give us 6x. And likewise, x times 3x is going to give us 3x squared. And so now we have our factors. One factor is 3x, and when we multiply it by x plus 2, this is a positive 2, I get the factored form. So this is the factored form of the original equation written in standard form. So remember, factoring is just changing the format of the same function. Go ahead and try the first activity in this week's lessons. These activities will take some time, so be sure to return when you're ready to reach out to your teacher if you have any questions. We appreciate your work. We know this is sometimes challenging, but we really want you to do well.